Hey guys, and today I'm going to be doing a video on what markets I control as a Skyblock investor. So I have a few items which I've invested so many coins into and bought for so long that I pretty much am not the sole control of the market, but if there's an update or if I was trying to sell, I could completely crash or raise the price depending on what I wanted to do because I own almost all of them that exist. So basing that, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the one I have the least control over, but still a pretty hefty amount, which is crab hats. I think I have around 5% that are still in the investment community of crab hats, which seems like not a lot, but with how many players there are, it really is a pretty significant amount. And then I also have some here. All right there. So I've got around 1,100 crab hats, which out of the amount which I think are circulating in the economy right now is definitely enough to completely control it, which is the first thing we'll talk about. The next one is going to be enchanted books. So I almost completely control projectile protection, Bane of Arthropods, blast protection, fire protection, yeah, so those ones, and then Titan Killer as well. Titan Killer, I control both Titan Killer 7 and Titan Killer 6. That's a funny book. But, you know, I've got hundreds and hundreds of each of these types. Like out of Bane of Arthropods, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's more books just scattered throughout everywhere, which are the same thing as all these others. So that's another one which I control. If there's ever an update with those, I completely am the sole person that controls all those. The next thing, which is going to be Glowstone. If we switch over to Glowstone, you can see about 100,000 have been insta-sold in the last 7 days. I have well over a week's worth of supply for it, so I'd say I pretty well controlled this market if needed. Like if there was an update and people were buying it, I definitely have the most, at least that I know of anyone, for Glowstone. Emerald, I'm not actually sure on anymore. We can take a look, but I have 2,800 of it. Well, 29 if you count that. No, it's still 28 because I actually claimed some the other day. So 28,000 emerald blocks, which isn't a huge amount compared to how many could have existed, but I feel like I'm probably the top investor in this still. The next thing is going to be Glowstone. Like I said, I have almost 2 weeks worth of Glowstone blocks, which I've invested in. I also have a crap ton of transmission tuners. I don't control this market, but I have probably the top person who owns the most, or one of the top, which I think is kind of interesting. The next thing is going to be ice golem skins. I don't have that many. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6.2 chests worth. So that's like 310, 315 ice golem skins, which is about 10 to 15% of all of them that exist. So pretty hefty chunk of that. Next things which I control a decent amount of, which aren't very important things, but I still have a Sinful Dice. I have a decent amount of that. Not a ton. And see, look at the Thunderbolt when they changed the text and stuff. It's so weird looking now. Does it still look like that, actually? I'm kind of curious when they changed it. Thunderbolt. Does it still show that? Oh, I guess it does. Yeah, I'll put a buy order up, just because I don't have that many of that one specifically. Next thing, which I have a ton of for no real reason, would be Phoenixes. I probably don't have the most out of anyone. I only have like, I don't know, maybe 40 Phoenixes. Same with Digested Mosquito. I've got like 100, but I know there's people with more Digested Mosquito than me. Ember Fragments, if those were still valuable. And then the final thing, which I have a decent amount of, which are kind of important, I guess, would be all these old magma bows, because you can't craft them anymore. They're all pretty hypermax. We're not hypermax, but pretty max. You know, Storm 5, Overload 5, Power 6, Dragon Hunter 5. And that's what pretty much all of them are. At least Swarm and Overload. And yeah, so that's pretty much all the markets I control, except for 2 very important ones, which I'm going to go over to now. And that is, do I have the account open? I do. Okay, so this is on my main account for playing the game, Ravi, where I have all my skills and stuff. And this is probably my biggest investment in the entire game, and the markets which I control that have the most out of everyone, which is Essence. So if we go over to Diamond Essence first, which is my biggest investment, I have 14 million Diamond Essence. And just for the sake of the video, we'll buy a few more, just because I saw there's 300,000 for sale for pretty much the same price. Okay, there we go. We push the price up just a little bit. So how much do we have now? So 14.42 million Diamond Essence. Pretty hefty investment. The second highest has 6 million. So, or did. I actually don't know what the second highest is anymore. I think it's still Kikonjin, but we'll see. And then Gold Essence, I have 10 million. This is my biggest lead. The second place person has 2.8 million, I think. So I am way ahead on Gold Essence, which actually I'll buy some of that too, just while we're talking here. There you go. Yep. So just because when there's a ton for sale for pretty cheap, I'll buy it. It's not super cheap, but it's easier than buy ordering it for months. So now we're at 10.37 million. And those are my biggest investments. Just for a quick peek at how much that's worth. Gold right now, if I was to sell off it, is 8 billion coins. And then diamond is 9.5 billion or 9.45 billion. So a lot of money in essence, which is my biggest markets, which I control the most besides Titan Core 7, to be honest. And yeah, I thought it would be kind of interesting to make a video on, like, as an investor, you're kind of sharing, most people are just sharing the market with everyone else. But for a few items, it's not really sharing anymore, and it's like I am the market. And so things that come with that you don't think about is, if I were to sell all of my items, I would immediately crash the price down, for a lot of them to zero even, or if I sell too quickly. So one thing which bigger investors in my audience will know, or at least have to consider, is like, well, one, only 785,000 are buy ordered for diamond right now. You can crash it down to zero pretty easily. But when you're selling, you have to consider that you yourself are driving the price down. You know, for a lot of people, it might not be a big deal to sell a few of their dungeon drops or whatever, but if you're one of those people that's owns a significant portion of the economy and you try and sell, you alone will be the reason the price drops. You have to consider selling slower or limiting what you're doing, and sometimes you actually have to buy even though you're trying to sell, just to push the price up, so then you can list your items for higher. Just like slight manipulation, but mostly it's because you have so many items to begin with. And yeah, I hope that this was kind of interesting for you guys. I know a lot of people don't know exactly what I'm investing in anymore. I haven't heard from me in a little bit, and that's because nothing's changed. Still thinking about alchemy, which will be my next video. Still thinking about, you know, the wizard tower, which will be at some point. Farming, which is coming out at some point. And then general quality of life changes, which I think will happen just randomly, like essence and all that other stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment if you want me to go over anything in specific next time. And then hope you had a good holidays.